Chris, Scott Griffin here, Smashmouth Radio. How are you?
Doing fantastic. Happy to be here.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you hanging out with us. And I saw your quote about Will Reichard being the best high school kicker you've ever had. Am I wrong on that, or is that what you said?
Believe it or not, it's absolutely true. I've been at this now since about 2001. So in about 17 years of coaching kickers, and we see roughly, about 1,500 per year now. He is, without question, the best kicker I've ever had at the high school level coming into college. So very proud of Will and his commitment to Alabama, and they're in for something special in the next 4 years.
So why do you say that? Give me some qualifiers.
Well, I've coached Will since sixth grade. So I've had an opportunity to see him as a youth player. And from the very beginning, Will was competing as a sixth grader with, my high school freshmen and sophomores, and you wouldn't have known the difference. And you always think that, sometimes kids peak early and then they kind of taper out, or they get burnt out on the sport. But Will, I'm telling you, every single year continues to do the same thing, took his game to another level. And, once he got into high school as a ninth grader, was immediately placed in the #1 ranking in the country. And usually someone will come and challenge him. And I'm telling you, Will just every single year pushed his competition further back, continued to separate himself. Got to a point where when he was a sophomore, he was winning my camps against seniors, which is something that's never happened before. And, as a junior this past year, he's untouchable. He came into our top 12 camp, which is the nation's elite, and he dominated kids who are committed currently to schools like, Clemson, committed to schools like, you name it, SEC, Pac-12, Big 12. He's just that good. I mean, when it comes to our camps, our college kickers and our pro kickers literally say, like, if he came into my camp and competed with me, like, I'd be scared for my job. That's how physically and mentally tough he's been now over the course of the last 6 years. And that's how special he is.
So give us the criteria you're looking at when you say he's been the best. What are you looking at? I'm sure it's more, dissecting than what you're talking about,
Yeah, I mean, the first thing you look for is obviously just, physical power, physical athleticism. Does he have the leg strength to compete with the top players in college football? And you start with comparing to their peers. And he's always been, like I said, a cut above. Then you look at their technique. Is it someone that has a technique to be successful consistently? And again, Will's been a technician since sixth grade. I've been using his film to coach other players, sometimes even older players, for years. And that's how strong he is technically. You put those two things together, and then, obviously the dedication, the hard work in the off season, the hitting the weight room, all that stuff. Most kids kind of have highs and lows. Will's always stayed on the upward swing. Of course, he's gone through some adversity, but he's always been on the upward swing. And so when it comes to confidence, there's no one that's better. I put him in pressure situations now, countless times against his peers, against older kickers, against college kickers, even against NFL kickers. And the kid is yet to make a mistake. He's always there, and he always hits big kicks. So as far as I'm concerned, he's got everything it takes to dominate the college level.
That is amazing. And you're kind of reminding me, and you may be aware, you may not be aware, but you kind of reminded me of what Trent Dilfer did when he was just, spewing all over the place about Tua Tagovailoa. Then we saw it once he got here. I mean, you're not holding back. You're that confident. You're not even giving any leeway on this guy that he's that good. That's impressive to me.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we see thousands of kids a year, and we put roughly, 40 to 50 kickers and punters into college per year on full scholarship at the Division I level. And, in any other interview, any other conversation about players, there's always something that you question. And you think, okay, he's great. He's a great player. He deserves a scholarship, deserves to be there, deserves to compete. But, will he step up? And, there's always going to be question marks. I've never been so certain about a kid. Now, does that mean he can go in and make some mistakes? Of course he could. But, we're talking about coming out of high school, who's been the most prepared I've ever had? And the answer to that question is Will Reichard. I'm absolutely certain because I have so much experience with him. And like I said, after 18 years of seeing these kids go through this process, he's been through it all, and to me, that leads to him having success at that level.
What did you notice when he first came to you in sixth grade? Here's a kid from Alabama, and he starts coming to you at your camps in the summer. What did something stand out, or just his consistency, or all the above, man?
He was a little guy. He's still a little guy. He's not some big, husky, athletic-looking phenom. He looks like a regular old kid, and he came in as a sixth grader, and he was fearless. If anything I can say, it was that. We very rarely take young players into camp because they usually are intimidated by the older kids, and they shy away from even instruction. From the very beginning, he expected to go in as a sixth grader, standing, 4 foot whatever, and, beat high school seniors. That's the way he felt. I remember putting him in a group with youth players, and he was frustrated. He didn't want to be in that group. He wanted to come back and compete against the high school kids. So, from minute one, the kid's been fearless in wanting to compete, wanting the spotlight, wanting to be in the biggest situations. And he's still to that day. Think about it. He took the challenge of going into Alabama, #1 school in the country, playing for Nick Saban, best coach in the country, and going up against a player like Joseph Bulabos, who's still there, who's a young player, who's also on scholarship. And he has no fear of that opportunity. He could have made an easier choice and gone someplace where the job is just his off the bat. But Will always accepts the challenge. And if you listen to any of the stuff he said about going there, it's always like, I'm ready for it. Bring anyone on, and I'm ready to win this job.
Yeah, and it's interesting because Nick Saban has proven he'll play a freshman if that's the best guy. There's no chance that he's not going to play the best guy.
Yeah, and that is, I've worked with Coach Saban now for over a decade and helped play some great players there for him. And he wants to win, and we all know that. And the best player is going to see the field no matter what his age. And like I said, Will's not a freshman. He's mature beyond his years. And like I said, I almost feel bad for the current players that are there because this kid coming in, like I said, I really feel like, you put him in Alabama's camp or you can put him in the Miami Dolphins camp. And he has a great chance of winning that job in either place.
That is amazing.
Yeah, it is.
That is just so off the charts. It's crazy. So you had J.K. Scott as well. We're saying this is the J.K. Scott of place kickers. Let me tell you, Alabama fans love them some J.K. Scott.
Yeah, J.K. Scott was a guy we trained also for many years, and had similar conversations about him as he came out of high school. I remember sitting down with Coach Saban and making a decision on him at summer camp, and I said, J.K. is the guy. He's going to be a phenomenal player here, and I was very certain about him. He was one of about 5 punters at that time that coming out of high school I felt like was a no-brainer, comparative to 4 or 5 other guys that are currently in the NFL. And again, with Will, I feel like he's in that exact same conversation. So Alabama fans can expect, a similar result to what they got from J.K. And I have full confidence in that. And I wish Will all the best as he kind of heads off to the next chapter, which really, it's long overdue. He's ready for it.
So with kickers, is it mainly mental you work with? Is it technique, all the above? And because I'm guessing, again, fans don't understand everything that you're doing and going in with a kicker because it's so mental, so physical, pressure, not pressure, kick. There's so many elements here. Yeah,
there really is. And that's why it's so hard to predict, a young high school player at the age of 17 or 18 stepping into, a major pressure situation, playing in these big-time college games. But, yeah, we start with, obviously, teaching technique as a young player. We're not concerned about college or recruitment or anything like that. Once they learn the technique and the basics, the strength will come in time. And then once they gain confidence in their technique and they see that they're being successful, then we start to implement, the weight training stuff and the strength. And with that confidence, they grow, across the board. And then I really believe that, if they stay at it consistently for, the course of those 3, 4, 5 years as they're developing to go into college, they build a confidence. And that's really the mental side of it. I think that confidence comes from preparation. I always say, people talk about seeing, sports psychologists and all that good stuff to get themselves mentally straight. I believe if you need that, it's too late. The reality is if you prepare from a young age and do things the right way, you will build a confidence to know that you're ready to dominate. So if anything ever goes wrong, it should only be one kick or, maybe one game. But, the reality is great kickers have a confidence to be able to bounce back. And that comes from preparation. And there's very few guys out there that put in that amount of time to make sure that they're ready for it. So again, I'm real proud of Will, and he's one of the kids that's done that.
What was his longest kick you've seen? And then what you said he's kind of averaged size and everything, where does he get his power from?
Again, it's the first thing is just elite technique. So if you look in the NFL at the kickers, they're not all huge. You have some that are, stand 5'10" and 160 pounds. You have some that are bigger. But the reality is that good technique, creates great contact, and that power that you're looking for in a kicker. But again, Will is one of those kids that the technique is flawless. He uses everything in his body. It's not just his right leg, which again comes from technique. And then he's worked hard to develop his body physically to get to its peak as well. So he's just one of those guys, like I said, that's doing everything right now. And I expect to see on that path.
Did you do Skylar DeLong as well, the kicker that's at Alabama now?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Skylar's trained with us for many years, and with JK graduating last year was a big year for them to come in and recruit a punter. I spoke to Coach Saban about Skylar, and at the time he was the guy that was the most ready to come in and do that job. He's got a good build for a prototypical punter. He's athletic, so he's got work to do as far as his consistency is concerned, but Skylar's a guy that we believe should also develop into a quality college punter.
I did notice he didn't have the hang time or anything with J.K. Scott, but he was very adept inside the 20. I don't know if that's what you feel like now. In the spring game that I could see, he looked like he was terrific at pinning people down.
Yeah, like I said, he's a quality punter, meaning he has all areas of the game covered. Again, you have to realize that he's 4 years younger than J.K. was last year. And, he's got to develop the strength to get to where J.K. was. But, there's very few that are like J.K. Scott. But Skylar's someone that will develop the strength. And I think that you're going to see, not in year one, but in year 2 and year 3, by the time he's in year 4, he should definitely be an all-conference type of a player and an NFL prospect.
Final question, and I know I've kept you a little bit longer than I thought, but it's just very intriguing. There was I want to ask you about Saban and your relationship, because for years, Alabama's had trouble with kickers. Auburn's been terrific with kickers, and there's this aura that Alabama could never recruit a kicker, although they get all these guys, and even the ones they got that were high profile didn't work out. Did Alabama start recruiting kickers from camps and such later than other universities, and now they're into that thinking, and so we should see good kickers come to Alabama year in, year out? You know what I'm asking there?
Yeah, no, absolutely. To be honest with you, Coach Saban does a phenomenal job of recruiting. I've had a relationship now, like I said, for well over a decade, almost 2 decades. And, we always have conversations about who's out there year in and year out and who can come in and help the team win. Sometimes it's just by chance. I mean, I'll be honest with you. You have a top 5 kid come in and just doesn't get it done, and it happens. And I think that with some of the guys they've always kicked off well, had big legs. They just haven't had a knack, I guess, for being clutch and hitting high percentages. But, he's always brought in great depth as well. Guys that like Jeremy Shelley and those guys along the way that have brought some consistency to the kicking game. But I think it's just by chance. He's had good players, just haven't performed up to their standards. And even with Joseph Bullabos, I still think he's got a chance to be a really good player. And with Will Reichard now, I've like I said, I've never had more more of a certainty about a player going into college. So I think it's just by chance. Like I said, he's nailed it on the punters, and kickers have been, so-so, but kickoff-wise, they're real strong. And, a couple kids that battled through injuries also in the past that have been there. But, with Coach Saban and what they're doing here going forward, I think they're looking in really, really good shape.